You are the descendant of explorers, not kings, not farmers, explorers, long before the wheel, long before writing, long before a single field was ever planted. Humans had already crossed open ocean, walked into frozen continents, and reached almost every corner of the planet. We picture our ancient ancestors as simple, primitive, barely surviving. But the truth is the opposite. They were some of the greatest explorers who have ever lived, and they did it with no maps, no compass, no metal, nothing but the sky, the sea, and nerve. This is how ancient humans traveled the world. Here's what most people imagine: humans left Africa, and over tens of thousands of years, they simply walked, wandered slowly outward, generation by generation, spreading across the land like a slow stain on a map. Part of that is true. We did leave Africa, and much of the journey was on foot. But here's the problem with the simple story: the planet was not one connected piece of walkable land. It was broken up by oceans, split by deep straits, buried under ice, and cut off by deserts. To reach the places they reached, our ancestors couldn't just walk. Again and again, they had to solve the impossible. And the first great clue is a continent almost no one could have reached by accident: Australia. Today, the oldest solid evidence of humans there comes from a rock shelter called Majid Bebe, and it's staggering. People were living there at least 50,000 years ago, and possibly as far back as 65,000. Stop and think about what that means. 65,000 years ago, there was no farming, no cities, no writing. The wheel wouldn't be invented for tens of thousands of years, and yet humans reached Australia. Here's why that's almost unbelievable. Even during the Ice Age, when sea levels were over 100 meters lower and land stretched much further out, Australia was never connected to Asia. Between them lay a maze of deep ocean channels. To get across, there was always at least 50 miles of open sea. You cannot walk that. You cannot accidentally drift across it. The currents would sweep you out to sea. Scientists ran the models. Reaching Australia by pure chance was almost impossible, which leaves only one explanation. They built boats, they planned the crossing, and they deliberately sailed toward a horizon with no guarantee that anything was on the other side. The first Australians were the first open ocean voyagers on Earth. So, how do you cross an ocean with no instruments, no compass, no GPS, no map at all? You learn to read the world itself. The people who mastered this best were the navigators of the Pacific, and what they could do sounds almost supernatural. They memorized the rising and setting points of over 150 stars, turning the night sky into a compass. They read the ocean swells with their bodies, feeling the way waves bent around islands far beyond the horizon. They followed birds that sleep on land, tracking a turn at dusk to find an island they couldn't yet see. They read clouds and wind and the very color of the water. The whole planet was their instrument. And with it, they did something staggering. Between roughly 3,800 years ago, these navigators set out across the largest ocean on Earth and settled almost every habitable island in it, an area covering a third of the entire planet's surface. They reached Hawaii, they found New Zealand, they landed on Rapa Nui, Easter Island, the single most remote inhabited place in the world, over 2,000 miles from the nearest neighbor. And this is the part that proves it wasn't luck. They didn't just stumble onto these islands, they sailed back. They carried the route home in their minds and returned, with people, plants, and animals to build a new life. In double-hulled canoes, guided by nothing but memory, sky, and sea. No civilization, before or since, has explored so much of the planet with so little. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, humans were solving a different puzzle: how to reach an entire pair of continents that had never seen a single person. During the Ice Age, so much water was locked into glaciers that the sea between Siberia and Alaska drained away, revealing a vast grassland called Beringia. And people didn't just cross it, they lived there for thousands of years, trapped between ice sheets, slowly becoming a new people, genetically distinct from everyone they had left behind. Then, as the ice began to melt, they moved south. And here, too, there's a twist. For a long time, we assumed they walked through a gap between the ice sheets. But humans appeared deep in the Americas too early for that gap to explain. So many scientists now think they came another way, by boat, hugging the Pacific coast, following a kelp highway of rich, sheltered shallows all the way from Asia towards South America. On foot and by sea, in just a few thousand years, they filled two empty continents from top to bottom. And some of the roads they traveled are gone now. When the Ice Age ended, the seas rose and swallowed the land bridges whole. The plains our ancestors walked between Asia and America, underwater. The land that once joined Britain to Europe drowned. Whole chapters of the human journey now sit silent on the ocean floor, coughing up a stone tool in a fishing net every once in a while. The map they traveled doesn't even exist anymore. And this is the truth that changes everything. The image of the primitive, frightened caveman huddling in one place. It's wrong. Our ancestors were not stuck. They were moving, constantly, curiously, deliberately. They crossed oceans before they invented the wheel. They read the stars before they wrote a single word. They walked into frozen, empty continents, not knowing if they would survive. And they did it again and again and again until there was almost nowhere left on Earth without a human footprint. And every single person alive today is the descendant of someone who left. Someone who looked at a horizon, an ocean, an ice field, a line of unknown mountains, and instead of turning back, decided to find out what was on the other side. That restlessness is still in you. It's the same pull that makes you want to travel, to wonder what's beyond the next hill. It is the oldest human program there is. And now we've filled the whole planet, every island, every coast, every continent. There is nowhere left to be the first. So we've started to look up at the moon, at Mars, at the impossible ocean of space. Because the ancient humans who crossed the sea and the humans who will one day cross the stars, they are the same people. And that horizon has never once stopped calling.